The Ukrainian Secret Service SBU and the Armed Forces of Ukraine hit a secret base of the Russians in the temporarily occupied Melitopol, sources in the SBU inform. As a result of the missiles attack, the commander of the 58th Army of the Russian Federation, which is fighting in the Zaporozhye direction, as well as their chief of staff, were wounded. As well, dozen other soldiers were killed and wounded. And this is the footage of the actual attack. The Ukrainian deep strike strategy is devastating for the morale of the Russian forces. They simply can't relax at any time, anywhere in Ukraine. With the Ukrainian use of drones and the modification of older Soviet rockets, Ukrainians can hit Russians on the whole occupied territory. Sweden supplied Ukraine with 10 Swedish-made Stridsvagn 122 tanks, according to the Swedish Armed Forces. The Ukrainian crews of these Stridsvagn 122 tanks were trained in Sweden. We have given them everything we could in terms of good equipment and good knowledge. Now we wish them all the best in liberating their country, Mats Ludvig, Chief of Operations at the Swedish Army Staff, said. The Stridsvagn 122 is a third-generation Swedish main battle tank, a licensed German Leopard 2A5 tank with various modifications. It is the best tank in the Swedish arsenal and one of the best main battle tanks in the world. The Stridsvagn 122 has a 4-person crew, tank commander, gunner, charger, and driver. The Stridsvagn 122 has a smoothbore 12-centimeter cannon, 2 7.62mm machine guns, and 2 smoke-thrower batteries. Armor-piercing arrow projectiles and explosive grenades are used for the cannon, which can engage targets at distances of up to 4 kilometers. The Stridsvagn 122 entered service with the Swedish Armed Forces in 1996. By 1998, 180 Stridsvagn tanks were in the Swedish Armed Forces. In 2022, the Swedish Army had 120 Stridsvagn tanks. For more than 30 years, the Stridsvagn 122 tank has formed the backbone of Swedish mechanized brigades. Now the Ukrainian army has about 10 of these main battle tanks at its disposal, with tank crews trained in Sweden by Swedish instructors. Russian attack attempt on Robotyne direction is repelled by the Ukrainian 47th Brigade. Also, as stated, Russians mistakenly launched a TOS-1 strike at a position where Russian infantry had landed not long before. And the Ukrainian SBU, most likely Alpha Group, and Navy launched a large-scale missile strike on the Russian Naval Aviation Airfield in occupied Saki on Crimea. According to media reports, there were at least 12 combat aircraft, Su-24 and 30, there at the time of the attack, which were defended by various air defense systems, including the Panzer S-1M. The base also housed a training center for operators of the Iranian Quds Mohajer tactical UAV, which Russia uses in both tactical reconnaissance and attack roles. The attack opened with the launching of multiple UAVs to overwhelm Russian air defenses, followed by the launching of Neptune anti-ship cruise missiles that were converted for use against land targets. There are reports that multiple targets were hit, causing serious damage to equipment. Russian sources also confirmed serious losses during the attack, including at least 30 casualties. Residents of Crimea filmed the flight of the Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Eastern Ukraine, a Ukrainian drone from the 110th TDF Brigade drops a PG-7M heat warhead on a Russian BMP-1, causing a catastrophic detonation and turret toss. Russian mobilized soldiers die on average after 4.5 months at war in Ukraine. The lifetime of many at the front line is a few days. Research by iStories and CIT. Today is exactly 1 year since Putin announced partial mobilization in Russia. During this time, Russian authorities have never reported on casualties among the mobilized. Conflict Intelligence Team, CIT, and iStories volunteers compiled and analyzed a name list of mobilized dead, official data, to understand how long mobilized people live at the front lines and when and where the most massive losses happened. More than half of the mobilized men died between the ages of 30 and 45. The oldest dead mobilized on the list is 62-year-old Major Nikolai Isakov from Tver region. He spent almost 8 months at war and died in early June on the territory of Russia, in Shebekinsky district of the Belgorod region. On average, the mobilized died after 4.5 months in the war zone. At the same time, Andrei Kartapolov, head of Defense Committee of the Russian State Duma, Parliament, stated on the first anniversary of the partial mobilization that everything is going on as it should. According to the latest data of the Ukrainian General Staff, 274,470 Russians were killed in combat since the start of the full-scale invasion.
Все идет своим чередом, выводы сделаны, реакция абсолютно верная. Те недостатки, которые были скрыты в ходе частичной мобилизации, сейчас практически устранены, и идет активная работа с тем, чтобы наша система мобилизационно развертывания была самая передовая в мире.
Meet Bohdan from the 10th Mountain Assault Brigade and his trembita. This folk instrument, popular in the Ukrainian Carpathians, serves as a means for mountain shepherds to communicate across distances exceeding 10 kilometers. Surprisingly, the trembita's enchanting melody resonates beautifully even in the vast Donetsk steppes.